Hi guys, my name is Fernando Xavier, and I posted in Instagram a video in Portuguese, of course, about what we believe, what I believe of God, what I live with Him every day, what is my relationship with Him, and what I believe He's been talking to us all this year. And some people, ask me, hey, can you do it in English as well? Because in Instagram I have friends also from the US and from all over the world that they don't understand Portuguese, of course. So I decided to just make this video in English, and to also this video can go to more places, other than just Brazil. So why not? So here I am, and I just want to share with you all what I believe about God, what I believe He's been telling me in the last few days. I would say like this. So in this video, I'm going to talk about God and His purpose for everything. I really believe God has purpose for everything that happens in our life. Nothing is coincidence at all. So if you're living something very bad, you can really see what the purpose is, and that's okay, because we can't understand all the purpose from God anyway, because He is the creator of the universe. So how can you understand the mind of someone who creates the universe, right? But what I can say is God can use everything that happens in our life for the good. So I'm gonna give you two different texts from the Bible, some different scripture here, and he gave me something about these two different scripture in the Bible that I really felt was through the Spirit, not through my mind, because I always read those scriptures and I never really realized these meanings. So let's go to the Bible. First is John 16:33. That's a very famous scripture that says, Jesus saying, right? These things I have spoken into you, that in me you might have a peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. And the next scripture that I want to share with you, it's in Romans 8:28. Now Paul is speaking, and I really think it has, it completes the first sentence which I just said in a way that those two together makes real sense. So Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. So, Jesus, he said that we're going to have many tribulation in our life, right? He doesn't really explain those tribulation. He doesn't really say who's going to create those tribulation, who's the fault, who's the fault from those tribulation, who creates those tribulation. He never said that. You can read the Bible and you're never gonna see Him say, "Hey, I create those tribulation," or "I let those tribulation appear in your life." It's hard to explain those. So He really didn't explain. He just said, "Okay, believe in me and come with me. Let's walk together through those tribulation because I have overcome the world." So that's the really responsibility that we have. It's really to trust Him because He can win and He won from all over tribulation, right? Like now in Romans, 8:28, Paul said that everything happens for the good. Everything that happens, God can use for the good. So now let's think about Jesus' life, for instance. Jesus had many suffering, many tribulation, right? But He had also many good joys, right? I mean, He really enjoyed many things in His life as well, right? For example, He resurrected, dead people. He was able to resurrect His own friend. So imagine His happiness about it. He saved people. He cured diseased people. So He actually had many joys. So do you think that only the joys that He had was God's purpose, or all the tribulation as well? Now let's picture Him in the cross, for example. In the cross was the worst tribulation a human being can ever go through, right? I mean, He was denied, He suffered in the flesh, and He had all the kind of tribulation that a human being can have. But you think that tribulation was for nothing, was a coincidence, or God used that cross, that tribulation, for the salvation of the humankind? Is that right? So why would be Jesus would be different than us, right? Now let's imagine Peter, for example. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, right? Now I ask you this: Jesus knew about this denial, he let him deny him, or he made Peter deny Jesus? The answer I can say to you from my heart is, I don't know. So I really don't think that's a question that we should be asking him, because we're not going to understand God's purpose, right? He's the creator of the universe. So I think what is good about this picture of denying, Peter denying God, is because of the denial, because of the suffering that this denial brought to Peter, he became Peter that we all know now. So without this denial, Peter might not have become the great Peter that we all know. So that tribulation, the suffering, made Peter to become what he really was. That actually brought him in a purpose. So I really can say that our life is the same way. We're going to have all kinds of suffering, all kinds of tribulation, but God can use those tribulations for good, for changing our lives. Another example that I can give you was Paul. He was in the jail, and he didn't know if he was going to die the next day, so he was suffering big time, of course. But what he decided to do, instead of crying like crazy, he just decided to believe in God and also to worship God. So he started to worship in a way that people look at him and, hey, how come this guy can worship in the jail? He might be dead tomorrow. And that made the difference, because people starting to believe God and Jesus there in the jail. So imagine that, a tribulation that was used to save people. So that's the God that I know. Every tribulation that we go through can be used from God for our own good. Let me give you a real example about that. My son, my 7-year-old son, had a back problem. It actually was a neck problem last week. And, he's very young to have those kind of problems, his muscle, because of this coronavirus thing that we're all going through. He ended up being at home for too long, and he's, playing his cell phone and iPads all the time. And because of that, probably when we thought about it would be that. He ended up, in that bad situation, and he was very, very, sore right here and suffering a lot because of that. And then when we saw him, that was a very sad day for him, because he really got stuck in the couch, with all the hurt that he had. And I say, hey, and we talk about him that, hey, Art, son, let's think it through for a minute. We believe, and you believe too, that everything happens for a reason, right? So let's trust God. He might tell us, if he's from his willing, why you're going through this. So we believed him, and of course, we went to the doctor, and then we went to the physiotherapist, and he became better in this day already. But then the doctor said, hey, you might go to the dentist, to see what's happening through this muscle from his neck. So it might be from his chewing problem, And then we got there, and the dentist said, hey, I'm glad you guys came here today, because he's really bad on chewing right now. He's only chewing from one side and not from the other at all. So this is a very good time to heal this. If you guys took longer than that, it might be much harder to heal him, and his face was going to be not symmetric. It's starting to be different one side to another. So imagine this: he had suffering, he had tribulation, but because of that, we were able to heal him properly in the right time, in the perfect time, without having further problems in the future. So I really can say that from my experience, from my entire life, that all the sufferings, everything that happens for a reason. So God, if you really love Him, as the word says, God can use that for your own good, for our own good. So if you're suffering a lot, or if you had suffered in the past for some kind of abuse or something, and you don't know the reason, just trust God. And He might be able to reveal why from that, of the tribulation that you had. And He might, and then again, if you sit on His lap again, if you trust Him so much, He might be able to tell you, He'll be able to tell you why from those suffering. And that become something good again, because of the tribulation, all the suffering that we have, sometimes that's for the purpose, for the good. So that's the share that I want to share with you guys, the word that God gave me in my heart. So if you guys like it, just give us a thumbs up from this video and share with other people as well. And thank you guys.